Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. I'm actually getting to recording this a decent bit later than normal. I just had some things to take care of in the afternoon, but wasn't going to deny you Q&A. We've got patch 6.1 right around the corner, so on top of all the content we've already been posting on the channel, we are of course going to be posting more. I think was where I was going to go with that. But since it's so late, let me get into the Q&A. Try to make this one not 50 minutes like last week, but I can't make any promises on that front. Thank you to our sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. They don't have to. All my content's free here on the channel, but special thanks to them because they're awesome. Our patrons of Darkness, Khuja, Cross on Jenova, and Kurenai Oni, gone above and beyond. Thank you to them. Thank you to all of you for tuning in. Now let's check the questions in the comment section. All right, hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey Happy, hope you and yours are doing well. Hello. And same to you. You mentioned in a recent PvP video, Square Enix tries to listen to all the player feedback to make changes on things. Yeah, they try, you know, it's they got to filter out when it's feedback versus mad ramblings, but they try. Other than commenting on videos, are there any other way for the vocal community to get their thoughts? Oh, no, videos are not. Shouldn't even be a thought in terms of expressing your opinion for the developers to see. No, the official forums is generally the place they look, and they look at the official feedback forums. Yeah, if a topic is really hot, they'll see that it's trending on, Twitter or Reddit, and they will take note of it. But, generally feedback, if you're looking to do something formal, is to post it over on the forums, which I'm going to be honest, isn't the easiest thing to do. But commenting on a video is in no way going to be something that catches their eye. So I wouldn't comment thinking it will. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Well met. Hello. Want to know what your gym routine? Look at this. Now, I used to be a gym rat back in college. I had a shoulder injury, and every time I worked out after that, it would basically swell up. Cardio was never that fun to me, so I ended up falling away from it. And right around that time was when I started doing content creation. In recent years, I have a bench back there. I have a few free weights, and just to make sure that I'm keeping my muscles moving to some degree, you do flies, you do chest press, you do push-ups, you do the basics, but I wouldn't ever really call it a routine. One thing I started doing, Mel got a Peloton sometime last year, and I've been using that a lot more recently. I'll do like 15-20 minutes a day or every other day, depending on, what I've got going on. And it's just about keeping the body in a relative state of equilibrium. I combine that with cooking and eating a lot of different foods, fishes, chickens, meats. Like today, actually quite a few times recently, I've been buying whole rainbow trouts, butterflied with their guts already taken out. Then you just have to descale them, defin them, and then you can cook them a number of ways. You could actually just take them off the bone very carefully. Once the guts are already cut out, though, that's kind of difficult to do. So instead, normally I'll stuff some herbs and some spices and season the outside of the fish with some olive oil, wrap it in tin foil with some butter and some lemon, and then put it in the oven for 18 minutes, and then it peels right off the bone. Or I'll get like a piece of salmon, and I'll do like a teriyaki marinade for it for half a day or so, and then cook in the evening. Chicken, kind of the same thing. Not a chicken. It's sometimes a teriyaki marinade, but more oftentimes I'll do some other marinade for that, or even just throw some chicken thighs on the on like a skillet with just some basic seasoning, because we all know the thighs are superior. But I've just combined those things to stay at a relative equilibrium and not really to have like a major routine, because I feel like mentally I'm not in a place to have a routine. I feel like as soon as something draws my attention or draws my ire, and I've spoken about that a lot on recent weekly Q&As, it almost just pulls me out of it. And once I'm pulled out of it, then if I was on a routine, it just kind of falls apart. Whereas if I'm just like, okay, I've got 15-20 minutes before bed, I'll do that, take a shower, pass out, it's easier for me to maintain. I should probably be doing it more, in all honesty, but that's really all it is. Light weights, cardio. And there's also this device that I invested in a Kickstarter that, being a Kickstarter, I'll probably never release. But it's basically like a harness that comes with a full-fledged video game. So it's like Ring Fit to the extreme. So you just run around a world and you have to block and punch and stuff. And that'll be a really good, fun exercise when I finally get that device and can live stream with it a little bit. But that's all it is. So just keeping a general state of healthy mind, healthy eating, and then, treat yourself once in a while. Hashtag Mondays with cats. Yeah, the cats aren't in here right now. They're over in the living room. Hey, hi. Do your cats even have any games they like to watch more? They don't like to watch games very much. Aloha used to like to watch me fish, because the fishing rod, I guess, kind of maybe he thought it was like a bug or something. But no, Ivy, however, likes to watch Netflix whenever I curl up in bed and I put the iPad down, because I usually need like a show I've seen a million times. I usually do Criminal Minds. That's my go-to-sleep show. I've seen it a million times. I don't need to stay up and watch it, but it's just noise. So it just helps me fall asleep. She'll always curl up next to me and just stare at the iPad until either she falls asleep or decides she wants to move or go someplace else. But not video games. They're not big on watching video games. But yeah, definitely movies and shows are more of their speed. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Happy Ochi. Hello. Hello. How's it going? It's going good. How old are your cats? So Aloha is turning 9 this year, and Ivy is turning 3. In fact, I think Ivy turns 3 this month. Wow, have I really had Ivy a year? If I haven't, it's getting close. I think I have. I think because she was 2 years, 2 months old when we got her. So she would have to already almost be 3 now. Yeah, and Ivy's 3. They are fluffy. Well, the big one's fluffy. The little one is not fluffy. She's soft, though. She's very soft, short hair. Will you solve the next deep dungeon? Yes, I will be. I will probably not do it first. I will probably do it with a group of people the first time through, so I can get a bunch of level ups very quickly. But yes, that will be something I do on release for the next deep dungeon. I will be going in and attempting to solo it. As for the job, probably Warrior. If I'm going to be completely honest, Warrior or Gunbreaker, I think, are going to be really, really solid options. But right now, I'm leaning towards Warrior. You know what? Paladin also. Paladin has a lot of AoE on its range attacks, which is a little scary. But yeah, one of the tanks, almost certainly, because I think there's a lot of comfort and safety in soloing on a tank, especially when it's brand new. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, good day. I distinctly remember in the lead up to T, they unlocked books for Savage early. No, they didn't. They didn't do this. This thing you've said, they didn't do. They did unlock the... Did they unlock the first? No, they didn't unlock the first Savage early. No, actually, they did. They unlocked it in 0.18, which was early. So previous to Shadowbringers, they actually only unlocked Savage as soon as the next one came out. So there was never, like, anything beyond weekly farms. But in Shadowbringers, they started doing it, I think, like 4 to 6 weeks before the next Savage tier came out. But before Ultimate, no. They didn't do anything other than the normal mode unlocks like they normally do. So yeah, you you did imagine it. It's just, I was going to say misremember, but you said imagine. So I'm going to leave it at that. Is there any reason they should unlock books earlier? I don't think so. I think as soon as Ultimate's 2 weeks out, I think that's probably the perfect time to unlock it. Especially for anyone who doesn't really want to, I mean, I get why they don't, right? Because obviously they want you to have to log in week after week to get all the loot while you're waiting for the odd numbered patch, right? It makes sense, as opposed to, promising you, you'll be able to just farm it in the 2 weeks before the Ultimate comes out and then get all the gear. Like, there's parts of it that make sense and parts of it that don't. But I think that's the primary reason, is they probably, if you know that you're going to be able to do that, then you probably don't farm it in the earlier weeks and you wait, and that kind of really stagnates the raid scene during the months leading up to the next major patch. So would it be great? Yes, but I think that there's a grander plan there, and it's beyond what we need in terms of us just not wanting to log in. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey Haps, hope you are doing well, and here's an extra hello for any missed ones. Not yet this week, but we'll see. First time asker, so here's a simple question. How do you think 14 is holding up on the casual side? So 14's casual side is the side that can make fun out of a lot more things. You see it with like the nightclubs and the role-playing events and stuff like that. You see it with people who don't mind logging in and just chatting in FC or Link Shell or running a few dungeons, get a few levels here or there. They're not the people staying on and, leveling for 14 hours straight so they could say, I got 2 jobs to 90 today. They're the people who might not even have every job unlocked in the first place. So on the casual side, there's usually a lot of goals to go for because they're just not trying to play that consistently, that hardcore. So it's probably doing A-okay. Given the Lucky Boncho census came out, and I think it was at like 1.7 million tracked characters or something of that capacity. I don't remember exactly what it was, but that tells you all you really need to know, that even in a lull time, it seems to be doing quite well. Quick lightning rounder. Somebody asked when we get new food and pots to use for BIS. If memory serves, both of those are when the next Savage tier comes out. But I don't craft. I just buy the stuff when it comes out. So my memory on it is kind of hazy. So I'm going to say that's my answer, but don't take it too seriously. As for what's in front of us, hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Happy, how are you? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? You doing all right? Long-time watcher, first-time asker. My static has cleared the Savage tier. Next year, I'm looking to play a different job, which means I need to go through the Savage fights again to gear up a new job. My static is planning to take a break until next tier. After we get our last mounts, which means I would most likely need to do reclears through the Party Finder. Party Finder gives me high anxiety. Bro, even when you've done it a bunch, it's literally anxiety incarnate. So I was wondering if you had any advice for tackling Party Finder on my own. Biggest worry is the strats I learned with my stack can be different. Yeah, you have to do research. That's literally step number one. You have to find out what the Party Finder, the usual Party Finder strats are. And that normally just involves looking at the Party Finder, seeing what they say, and then researching from there. I haven't been in the Party Finder for quite some months at this point, so I don't know how it's changed at all. I'd assume P4S has probably changed a little bit, or at the very least has a new name. It was what was it called? I don't even remember what it was called when I was looking at it a few months ago. P1S, P2S pretty straightforward. P3S, there's a little bit of variance, but that's just should be a quick research, a quick diagram. 4 is really where the majority of the research probably has to be done. So I would literally just look at the Party Finder, see what they're calling the strats, the name of them, and then send that over to Google and find it. There's usually discords for different data centers as well. If you look for the raid discord for your data center, it might actually have the usual PF strats in a channel. I only know the Ellentill one, which NA uses a lot of as well. But I would try to find, like, if you were on Primal, find a Primal one or a Crystal one, or if you're in Europe, just throw a quick search out for that or some feelers out for that. Quick one before this, somebody asked if I thought that Nald and Thal would combine and become Nald Thal as a part of the fight. I mean, it could happen. I don't see why not, but just have to wait and see. We won't have to wait that much longer either. But this one, hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Hey, Haps, hope you're well. Same to you. This is going to mark my first X1, having started the game shortly after 5.1. Really excited. I got all my jobs in 90, and I'm starting to look at gear upgrade paths. I know that a decent amount of gear is going to come from normal Savage raids and Alliance raids, but the idea of running them scares... Well, don't be scared of Alliance raids. Alliance raids are a joke. Definitely, and don't be scared of normal raids. They are also a joke. Savage, yeah, there's a little bit of legwork to be done. I've made a ton of videos about that. And I'm sure almost anyone you ask would say the same thing. But Alliance and normal, there's no anxiety. Those are like duty findering dungeons, but there's 4 more people and sometimes a hilarious wipe along the way. Keep hearing normal Alliance art that not a bad. Yeah, no, dude, listen, let me tell you. You saying I'm not a bad player? Trust me, I have been through some of the worst normal and Alliance raids that anyone has ever seen in all the years that I've played this game. You will not be the problem. Because here's the thing. People who do create problems in those kind of encounters are not the players who look at themselves and go, man, I could really use some improving. They're the players who look at themselves and go, it's just a game. Why so mad? More often than not. So yeah, I mean, the fact that you're even thinking about it is more than enough indication that it's not going to be that big of a deal. So just jump in. That's it. That's the encouragement. Just jump in. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi. With the rework of PvP on its way, I was wondering if the old PvP achievement will be removed. They talked about stopping the feast. They'll probably move all the feast achievements to Crystal Conflict. All the ones that can be feasibly moved over. As for the remaining ones, there's probably not that many rewards, or those rewards will be shifted on the Crystal Conflict. The fact they haven't brought it up at all tells you that whatever they're doing, they suspect is not going to impact that stuff all that much. And it wasn't even in the patch notes. I know they weren't the full patch notes when I read the preliminaries, and by the time you see this, I'll probably have a full patch note video in the works being uploaded. But I have a feeling that they're just going to translate it all over to some of the Crystal Conflict related stuff, and it probably won't be a problem at all. But the actual achievements, if you don't have them for the feast, those will probably be gone. Those will probably get turned into the 0-point achievements that get stuck into the achievement list. But other than that, I wouldn't worry about it. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, hi, ho there. What you call me? Mr. Happy. Hi. In reading some job change comments, one concept discussed is skill floor versus skill ceilings. What are your thoughts around these two concepts as it relates to job design in 14? I think that raising the floor is what they want to do, and they want to raise the floor more than they lower the ceiling. But there's this really interesting phenomenon in Final Fantasy 14 regarding the skill floor, in that there's a lot of people who don't know how to fucking play the game and don't put any effort to try to learn how to play the game. It's one thing to not be very good. It's another thing to not be very good and then queue into savage content and act like everyone around you is the problem. So please, if you are a player who you consider yourself of a lower skill caliber and you want to learn, don't let anyone bring you down, because we were all not good at some point. We had to learn and we had to improve. Now, if you consider yourself low skill and you don't want to improve, just don't queue into savage or extremes, because that's not great. Now, if you think you're the best and nobody else seems to think it, I would probably just stop. Yeah. So that's my general advice, because that skill floor that they keep trying to raise, there's no helping some people. And it's a sad truth, but it has to be said. Okay, yo, I clicked read more on like 3 questions in a row, and they're all like a mega like thesis. So one was on Samurai, and it was like a bunch of number shenanigans, and it's like, what do I think about them removing Kaiten? I don't think it was the thing they needed to remove. I also don't think it's that big a deal. I think if they really wanted to reduce the bloaty feeling of Samurai, Shoha and Shinten would have been better options, regardless of all the numbers and stuff. I can't be doing all that. It's like 8:40 p.m. I'm past the point where I can read all of that. And then there was one more. I don't want to scroll through everything, so let me see. There was one more. Oh, the other one was what play style do I think the next caster will have? I mean, honestly, we need a dot play style now. There's the Samurai one. There's the dot. We need like a dot play style again. So that. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps, how you doing? This one's also pretty long, but this one's at least 3 questions. So decided to get all jobs to 90, including some I never touched. Experience has me with the following questions with no pressure to answer all of them. Oh, okay. I don't have any pressure. So many jobs are super boring at low levels. They're actually making some adjustments that we'll see that in the patch notes. They did it for some jobs at Endwalker's release, and I think they're going to continue doing it for more jobs. And I really hope that they do this well, because there's a lot of things they could do to improve the low levels, and stuff like they did with Monk, I think was something I'd like to see with a lot more jobs. Number 2, picked up the game in Shadowbringers, so I don't know the history. Why was Squadron System abandoned? High upkeep and not a super high demand. It was more imperative that they create NPC allies that you could complete the story with, as opposed to NPC allies that you were essentially responsible for. A squadron is an activity where you actually build them up, and you're really doing it for them. They're not supposed to be really helping you. And that didn't really align with a lot of people's interests. Yes, they are a great leveling method from 20 to like 55-ish. One of the best, as a matter of fact. But that wasn't what the demand was. The demand was people wanted NPCs to help them with long queue times on main scenario instances and dungeons and stuff along those lines. So they shifted efforts onto the trust and now the duty support system that's coming in 6.1. And I think that was the right call. Squadrons still have their niche. On top of that, you can get tier 3 actions from them. What are the equivalent of tier 3 free company actions from them, and that's incredibly valuable all on its own. So I think that we probably won't ever see it expanded upon. I don't think we'll see it deleted or removed, but it probably won't see it expanded upon ever again. Oh, and I was going to move on to the next one, but let's see question number 3, because that actually didn't take too long. Yeah, there's a lot that say there's one over Captain. So they've said that the ranks for Grand Company over Captain, they're saving for if they decide to do Grand Company related content again, but they've also said that they don't know what they would do. Like, they haven't come up with an idea of what they would do. So that's an open-ended book as far as we're considering. We don't know if and when they'll ever do anything else with that. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Mr. Happy. Hi. If Square were to immortalize you in the game by making you an NPC, where would you want to be placed? In a certain city, state, or by a specific NPC? Truth be told, I wouldn't want to be. Like, I know they did this in World of Warcraft a few years ago. They had like a bunch of streamers that had their own NPCs in one of like PvP islands. I actually wouldn't want that. I'd rather leave my mark. And this wouldn't be a permanent mark. Like, I'd be forgotten, but like I would carry it with me the rest of my life. Being part of the development process of a boss, I'd like to leave my mark in some capacity, because everybody in the 14 community, when they say Mr. Ozma is designing something, or everybody is able to recognize it. So I'd like to be given the opportunity to work on an encounter, to head an encounter, and there's no reason to give me that. I have a few years in video game development education, and I've played games all my life. Like, that's not really a qualification for the proper project management that goes into encounter design. But that would be where I'd want to leave my mark, not as an NPC, personally. And don't worry, Final Fantasy 16 info will be on the way when there's something to talk about. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hi, hope your life is beautiful and wonderful and gorgeous. Look at this face. Does this face say anything that says... It says all of those things? Okay, just making sure. I made Astral all through Shadowbringers, and divination felt like a perfect dopamine rush for playing your job correctly. That is a very different opinion than what I heard a lot of Astros say about divination. Changes expansion have taken away, and honestly, the job has lost a lot of enjoyment, mainly because of that change. I love Ninja for similar reasons. Worry the change to Trick Attack will lead me to focus on other jobs. Some kind of fundamental design philosophy, they're changing everything too. Yeah, trying to remove burden. And oddly enough, they didn't even do that with Astro. Astro has not had its burden particularly removed. What they've done is they've made it so that I don't know, playing the individual cards comes with a benefit that doesn't affect whether or not your team hates you. Because if you got a 2-seal div in Shadowbringers, man, that's depressing. And your team will notice, and the Astro will be upset about it. Now, if you get a 2-seal Astrodyne, you're like, eh. But your div is still as useful as it always was. So it's about making sure the jobs are always useful, but still have some sort of skill or attention element that needs to be employed in order to actually play the job to its best. But they don't want you to feel like you've just completely screwed your raid because you couldn't get 3 different seals for your div. And then on top of that, they're trying to line everything up with 2 minutes. So that's part of the other. I don't know why they're making Trick Attack. I think the reason they're doing this with Trick Attack is because, is Mug already 2 minutes? Let me check real quick. Job Guide Ninja Final Fantasy 14. I just need it from like the official site. I just need the official site one to see the cooldown. Why is it? All right. Well, I guess now you can join me on that adventure, I suppose. Mug's already 2 minutes. So I guess what they're assuming is while this will change the order of the skills, it doesn't really change the, here it is. It doesn't really change the overall like timing of it. You'll still be using it every 2 minutes. It'll just be used in a location that makes it more useful as a raid buff as opposed to a personal buff. And you still have to maintain Trick Attack every minute. You're just only doing it for yourself. So I think the idea is to keep the gameplay relatively similar without, while changing what the actual output means, which will change the rotation. It will change the opener, but I think that's their core goal here. 2 quick lightning rounders before I take this one. One of them asked about how does the dungeon fit into the expert roulette? I'd say read the patch notes. That question was from 6 days ago, from before when the patch notes released. So always read the patch notes when you want to figure stuff out for a brand new patch. It's a good habit to be in because the first-hand information is there, and it's there in plenty. Like it's all over the place. So I'd always recommend going right to the patch notes for simple things like that. And the other one was, what are my hopes for the new PvP system, or do I have hopes? And I've kind of talked about that a lot last week. And so I didn't really want to elaborate, but I hope it's good is the TLDR of that. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps, how you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. My question is away from gaming. That's perfectly fine. Would Mel and yourself ever consider making a YouTube channel just for videos? It wouldn't be the both of us making the channel. It would just be me. She has a full-time job and career, and on top of everything else that she does. And so, whereas I do what I do right now for a living, it's already in a line. The answer is, I always like to leave these kind of open-ended. I take the Yoshi P stance where I won't say no, but I'm not going to say that it is happening or that it's likely or that it's in the works or anything like that. Just because the idea of, I mentioned this last week, the idea of running multiple YouTube channels is very stressful to me. Like, I can barely even keep up with Discord nowadays because it's just way too much input. And having a bunch of different YouTube channels for different topics, while there are some merits to it, is something that I've really resisted because of that. I just can't keep my attention on that many different things over a period of time. It's just way too rough for me. So the answer is maybe, but no commitments. So I don't know, somebody said they had a meme question before this one. What if they stop the next expansion at 99? They won't. They don't care. Besides, Final Fantasy 8 had there's multiple Final Fantasy games where level 100 is the cap and not 99. But on top of that, they'll probably squish the levels eventually anyway, so it really won't matter. We'll probably be going back to like 60, 70 as the cap at some point. As for this one, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hope you and your family are well. Thank you. Do you have any kind of comfort or staple meal you eat? So actually, I have one. I've got 2 different comfort foods. So I'd say that most of the foods I eat are not comfort foods. They are they satiate a different sort of emotion. Like I'm just in the mood for them. Like when I cook shrimp, it's because I'm in the mood for shrimp. You know, when I want sushi, it's one of my favorite things, but it's not a comfort. When I think of comfort, something that is truly comforting, I have two foods that come to mind. Number one is just a plain old deli sliced roast beef. That is it. Nice and simple. The main reason for that is when I was young, like 4 years old, my father used to take me to the local deli, and the guy behind the counter used to slice me a piece of roast beef, and I loved it. You know, I remember the first time I was like, Dad, can I try some? And he let me have it. And then every time I went in, the deli guy remembered, and he always was offering me that one slice. And it wasn't like, you know, how sometimes they offer you the one slice to see, oh, is this the right thickness? Is this what you want? No. He just gave me the one slice because he knew I was there for that one slice, until I eventually started actually getting a roast beef sandwich instead of just asking for the one slice of roast beef. And the other one is shitty linguine and clam. Now, when I say shitty linguine and clam, I mean, my family wasn't buying fresh clams as a kid and making clam sauce. They were buying canned clams. And they're, you know, not very good. Like if you have canned clams now, they're not exactly great. But sometimes when, you know, your family gives you something as a kid and it's like an inferior product, but at the same time, there's like this emotion that develops because you're young and developing while you have those things, you develop a nostalgia for it. And I think that particular form of linguine and clam is a comfort food for me. So that's definitely a big one. I did make fresh linguine and clam sometime last year, and it was amazing. It definitely tasted better than the one I had as a kid, but it didn't trigger that nostalgic feeling like I thought it was going to, because it tasted like real food. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi. Hey. As a fairly new player, I only played the new raid series Pandemonium, but because Yoshi told me to do a mega raid series, I did that. Yeah, because you'll need it for the new... What's it called? You'll need it for the new side story quest. The fights are really fun, unique, and creative compared to Endwalker Raid. As someone who was there, most of them I don't feel that way about. 01? Ugh. 02? Okay, but I hate the duty action button. 03? That's prime real estate. 04 also, a good amount of fun. My favorite door boss still to this day. I prefer the 4.5 minute door boss to the 12-minute fight versus two like 8-9 minute fights. This is personally how I feel. But then 05 was okay. 06, ugh, it was like a dummy fight. 07, I hate Guardian. And 08, it's all right. But also, I mean, I have other gripes with the Omega Raid. All the bosses are very unoriginal. I mean, quite literally, they're pulled from the old Final Fantasy games, and I hate blind fan service like that. Like, I love fan service in a Final Fantasy game, but I like good fan service in a Final Fantasy game. Stuff like the Crystal Tower raid being completely reworked for Final Fantasy XIV, even if it did borrow a lot of elements from Final Fantasy III story to tell it, and then evolving it even further in the way it was used in Shadowbringers and Endwalker. I mean, that's amazing fan service. But being like, oh, you know, I heard this story in another universe, and I'm just going to recreate this guy, and you're going to fight him in a tournament of death. Ugh. I feel like they've gotten far more creative since then. But they had really good creativity there. There are definitely some good fights, especially in the last tier. But there's also a lot of fights that are just, ugh, so boring. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello there. Hi. Hope you're doing well. You too. Well, my second time asking a question. That's nice. But they're quick and fun questions. Hope you won't mind answering. One, what happened to Temtem? So they actually released their 1.0 update not long ago, and now they're working on more stuff. I think a lot of people fell out of touch with it for two reasons. One, it took too long. Like, they went into early access, and then, you know, they had a somewhat decent release schedule, and then the pandemic happened, and it slowed down, and everyone just kind of forgot. Like, the world just kind of moved on. And then on top of that, they kept making changes very early on that alienated people who were interested in it. Like, they were trying to like balance Lumas, and they were trying to tie Lumas to power, and the breeding system was a little bit more convoluted than I think people wanted, with a maximum number of breed attempts. And they were trying to essentially create systems that were MMO-esque, but Monster Tamer players who wanted a Monster Tamer MMO didn't want these things as much, and then they started changing things like I said, the Luma raids and the acquisition of certain things, but they still let people who had abused those things beforehand kind of benefit from them. And at that point, it just, I think a lot of people just got turned off from it. They just didn't like it by the time all was said and done. I haven't kept up with it in quite some time, so I'm in that same boat, I guess. You're saying you lived in New Jersey. As someone who moved to New Jersey, I'm so sorry for you. I'm so... Well, first of all, are there any local takeout foods you'd recommend? I don't know. I don't dox yourself, but I don't know where local is. So there's no way I could possibly know an answer to that question. Man, I just looked over at my recommended videos when I went to read this question, and there's a recommended video with some bald dude, and I'm like, who is that bald guy? Oh, wait. That's me after I shave my head. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Morning, Haps. Have you done any of the Bojda raids as 4-man group? No. Some groups I ran deliver them as a light party the other day. I mean, yeah, if nobody else queues and you have a group of 4, yeah, you'll have it with a light party. It's one of the most fun 4-man instances I've done in a while. I enjoy beast moding Deliberum, but it wouldn't be something I think I'd enjoy with only 4 people. I found myself thinking it was about this level of mechanical difficulty people keep asking when they ask for harder light party content. But it's not hard, is the thing. Like, people who want harder light party content, those are not the answer, because they're not hard, unfortunately. With all the echo that you get, there's basically nothing that really happens with those. I mean, there was a time where I almost was going to go in and solo the whole thing before Endwalker even came out, but there's only one split damage AoE I just couldn't survive, and that pretty much put a halt to the whole thing. But even then, I was like, wow, this is like really simple when there's not very many people here. It takes away a lot of the spectacle of it. I mean, at least there's knockbacks and stuff. You know, there's not nothing, but that isn't what people are referring to when they want hard light party content, because the people who do really serious raiding wouldn't find that difficult. So there's a different echelon that those kind of players want to achieve, I feel. All right, I said I didn't want a 50-minute video, so I'm lightning rounding the rest of them. And when I say lightning round, I mean I'm really lightning rounding the rest of them. Anyone else bothered by the fact that status effects, focus bar, not have the same priority roles as the main target? Yes, a lot of people are bothered by that. Although I think there is a way to adjust it, but I don't remember off the top of my head. Unless you've been doing better recently, back into either a few iconic mechanics from Alexander got left out. Yes, and I am very much thinking about that for Dragon Song. So what do I think will be left out? I don't know. It's really hard to judge because a lot of them are pretty generic mechanics, and I think they're easier to incorporate en masse than things like height, which require very particular dances to do something with. I know your ultimate experience have all been amazing. Yeah, they haven't all been amazing. Wondering if you could speak of the difference between hardcore progging Savage and hardcore progging Ultimate. Hardcore progging Savage is a sprint. Hardcore progging Ultimate is an endurance test. Unless you are TPS beating it in 3 or 4 days, you are most likely going to be there for a week or 2 or even longer. So either find a group that raids less hours but is willing to raid for a longer period of time, or find a raid group that's willing to do more hours but isn't too stressed about beating it in the first couple of weeks. Those are the biggest differences that I would list between the two. Hope you're doing well this evening. Funny thing, it is actually the evening for once. People have asked, I think somebody already answered this. Yeah, Ethis on a personal hiatus, so he's just taking care of his own life above all else right now, and if and when he is ready to return, he will of his own accord. Share moderate concern to me about the game's future. No, I don't have any concerns about the game future. What's the super new flashy capstone skill? Yeah, I know. I think about that. Start to limit the room to grow. Oh, whenever they run out of room to grow on jobs, they always kind of hit the reset button on a job and redesign it from the ground up. So you never really have much to be concerned about there. They've shown us this multiple times already. So no, again, I really don't have any concern. It's only about any individual balance elements on any given patch. Curious your take on range physical attacks. It's a valid design point anymore. No, it's not. It hasn't been since Shadowbringers. That's an absolute truth. With permadeath mechanics removed, aren't all flavored lose conditions for those fights gone now? I mean, they're not flavor anymore. They were flavor back then, but they've been out of flavor for quite some time. So, no. Do you think with the newfound commitment to PvP we'll ever get a duel mode? So we do have dueling, but I know you want like a full-on mode. I don't think so, because I don't think this game is made for dueling. I think really only mirror matches would be mildly interesting, but what it might do is it might make the dueling square that you have in the Wolves Den a little bit more popular, because now it's somewhat more reasonable for a DPS to duel a healer, etc., etc. But you can duel in the game, it's just only in one location in the Wolves Den, and maybe they could expand upon that. What do you think about the minimum amount of people for unsyncing Eden Savage content now? I don't know. I'd have to really think about it outside of a lightning round, but you'd probably still want a decent number of people for quite a few things. It's just a question of what mechanics absolutely fail if you don't have all 8 people. And unfortunately, I think with Eden, the answer is quite a few, but I'd have to think about it a little bit more in depth. 2 hours ago, so, you know, you're lucky. If I actually didn't record this in the evening, there's no chance that you would have actually been able to ask this. Would it be a better idea if you remove all the meld slots on all gear below max level? No, I don't think so. I mean, I get what I can already get what you're saying, is that it encourages people to not meld the whole way up and then they don't understand how important it is. I think the reverse would technically be better if you could encourage people to meld early so they understand it's useful at max level. But I think more importantly, the character sheet needs to have more detailed information. People have been asking for this for ages, and I think that that is a big reason, is because people don't actually know what they're missing out on. And that's why I made that video in the first place. 2 questions. Typically do when it comes to relax during grindy content. I stream, so that's my chat acts as my distraction. They listen, as much as they say I'm entertaining them and helping them, they're helping me way more when it comes to grindy content like that. Second, do you still play mobile games? Occasionally. I'm going to be playing the new Octopath one and Ever Crisis when those 2 come out. But I haven't touched Genshin or Record Keeper or Defu in quite some time, and I have no interest in the new Kingdom Hearts ones either. So I haven't put much time into it as of late. Let's see, bonus hello. No, that's my second bonus hello. Looking for eyeglasses, wondering if these are RX. What are these? Dude, I got these so many years ago. These are, oh, they say MLG on them, Major League Gaming. These are Gunners. I got these at Best Buy when I worked in New York City before I even started streaming. And I've just used them ever since. They've been pretty useful. I definitely noticed a difference with the quality of my eyesight in terms of like the amount of light that's being blocked most of the time. I don't wear them all the time just because I don't need to, but I wear them throughout all my long, 7-hour streams plus, off stream a decent amount of time. And it's helped. That's what I'll say. I noticed it pretty quickly within the first like year of actually using them. You could also, if you only have one computer, you could just download blue light. I only bought them because I worked in tech support in New York, so I wasn't going to install like a blue light filter to every single PC that I was looking at every single time. What mode would you like to see in PvP outside? Oh, capture the flag. I want capture the flag so bad, you have no idea. Let's see. There's 5 replies on this one, so I don't even know if I want to answer it because I don't know. Yeah, it looks like there's a pretty detailed discussion going on there. About this. With job expansion been really rough for me since the summoner rework. I don't really find it fun anymore. 2 out of the 4 fights with summoners, rigid rotation means my demis are... Yeah, I mean, rigid rotations are an issue across a lot of jobs, so not liking something because of that is pretty, I'd say, normal. We already have a Reaper as left me in a hard position. I'll stay in my group because I enjoy raiding with most of them. Yeah, I would just... honestly, I always say, if it's a matter of raiding or not raiding, I'm very willing to power through. But if I have a choice, I'll always pine for my choice. But I don't really have much advice for something in that capacity. Flat increases, guaranteed crits means there's nothing to strive for, no bonus. Might as well change the potency if the crit damage is unalterable value. Wanting to get rid of blue as it currently is. 2 things they can fix with Black Mage buttons combined Fire 4 and Blizzard 4. I see there's some discussion under there about condensing Black Mage's kit. But the point was that they couldn't just add combo buttons like they do with some of the other jobs. Stat squish, what's it called? Talking about the stat squish sounds like you want us hitting the 1k range. The reason it was brought down was alleviated. No, it wasn't, because we're literally going to hit those values again, the exact same values that were causing problems almost by the end of this expansion. Like at the beginning of the next expansion, we'll literally be at the same numbers we were at the end of Shadowbringers, and the issue is literally right back. And then you have a whole expansion of them being like, oh, well, we have to do it again. So they should have gone more severe with the stat squish so they don't have to do it again so quick, as opposed to doing it every 2 expansions and us kind of just being stuck in this like middle ground of being barely able to do anything at all. And I think that is the last question for this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. So not quite 50 minutes, but still a little longer than I wanted it to be this evening. All the same, glad we managed to get it done, and hopefully you all enjoy. If you have a question, be sure to ask it in the comment section of the video for next week. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned for some patch 6.1 content hitting the channel. Anyway, until next time, y'all have a good one. Take care.